Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having an unbelievable uh, closing of the week. It's a lot going on here. There are a lot of things that we are working on accomplishing at Rick Wallace Enterprises and all the things that we do. Before I get started on Friday's motivational and inspirational message, what I want to do is, first of all, thank people who have supported the work I've done over the years. Second of all, tell you about a new project. Normally, I would have the description box on these inspirational videos filled with links of ways that you can work with me or access books or that I've written or programs that I've designed. And over the next week or so, I'm going to not do that. Not that they aren't available. If you want them, email me, email the organization at lifechange at rickwallacephd.link and ask about our programs, and you can get all the information there. But right now, I want to really focus on my current project that I'm so proud of, and that is the writing of book number 25. For years, I've been researching data and familiarizing myself and refamiliarizing myself with all of the data and the facts to talk about not only the need to build wealth within the Black community specifically, but all of the impediments along the way that have worked against us, how we've been gaslighted, how we've been told to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. And I believe it was Dr. King that says that it was disingenuous to tell a man to pull himself up by his own bootstraps when he didn't have boots. There are so many things that were at play that have worked against us. But I touch on all of this in this book that I'm writing. We started the writing this week. I've been doing research, like I said, for years. While writing other books and researching other books, I've been researching this. It's probably the most detailed because I wanted to be so aware. I didn't want to just talk about numbers. I didn't just want to talk about tips about finance. I didn't just want to talk about what you need to do and all of that. I have courses for all of these things, but I want to talk about the mechanisms and machinations at play that work against the development of Black wealth, because no matter how successful you are, your road travel towards financial freedom, financial independence is different than non-Blacks. You have to understand that. Don't be gaslighted. Don't be told it's you. It's not because you're stupid. It's not because you're dumb. It's not because you're lazy. Every group has all of those types of people. There are people out there that have worked their entire lives to the bones and die with nothing because they don't understand how things work. I want to teach people how things work. And this is where the beginning of this project starts, is with the book, but it's going to expand out from there. I said all that to say that the book is not just about money. It's about the entire culture, the social makeup of what we've had to go through since 1865 to today. And it gets you to financial principles, but also talks about the social movement, social changes, the psychological changes, the financial changes, the way of thinking, and everything that has to be in play in order for us to actually, as a collective, build wealth. And I am not one of those who believes it's too late. I believe we have a lot of work in front of us, but I believe that if you're breathing, you're still in the fight. And all of this is going to be there. What I've done differently with book 25, because to me, 25 is like a certain milestone. I tell people all the time, I never set out to write 25 books. I set out to share one, which was the Invisible Father, Reversing the Curse of a Fatherless Generation, which was my first book. It was also the first article I had published nationally as a high school student. And it eventually came to a book. And from there, I just realized there's so much that I have inside of me to share with the world that I believe can empower the world. And that's been my goal, to be an impact, to leave a legacy that makes people aware that I was here. As we go all the time is, after you leave this place, outside of your close relatives, who will even know you existed 10 years after your death? My goal is to be such an impact in this world that 10, 20, 30 years from now, or 10 and 20 and 30 years after my demise, I will still be relevant. not because it's going to matter to me, but because that's what you should want. You should want your impact in this world to be lasting. Well, what I've done differently to commemorate this 25th book is I've allowed my true community to be a part of it. You're going to help me, and I'm going to show my appreciation. I'm allowing sponsorships for the book. And what a sponsorship is, you can see it in the description box. You can click the link and go read more about it, watch the video and everything, so you'll know what's going on. Or if you get it, you can just go straight and sponsor. But basically, you're going to be sponsoring a portion of the process of getting this book done. And in turn, you're going to have your name published in the book under several categories. All that stuff's listed in there. And every person that, I don't care if it's $1, 50 cents, if you sponsor, you're going to have your name in the book, and it's not going to have your number by you. So if all you could afford to give was $1, it's not going to have you in there with the dollar. It's just going to show you gave as a bronze sponsor. And anybody who sponsors at least $25 will get the book when it's released. Anybody that sponsors up to $100 will get their memorial on their own singular page. They will have a page of themselves. And that's what everybody will get. Everybody who donates or sponsors, everybody who sponsors will have your name in the book, and you will get to memorialize somebody you care about or give a statement of appreciation if they're still alive. So you can have a statement of appreciation for your spouse. You can have in memory of some people who have passed that were dear to you. You can do whatever you want. You write the statement out. When you make the sponsorship, I'm going to contact you personally via email, ask you what statement you want. It's going to be put in your name, placed on the list, and when the book is published, it will be in there. So that's that. I got that out of the way. This is going to be going on for at least a week or so because I really want to get people behind this. I want to make people aware of this so that when it drops, people are really truly waiting on it, because I think it's going to be the most powerful thing that I've done by way of book anyway. So that's that. All right, it's Friday morning, so we're not going to give you anything heavy. We're not going to give you anything heavy. We're not going to do 10 this or 10 that. I just want to drop one thing on you real quickly, but I want you to pay very close attention. And I'm going to use one of my babies as an analogy. When we put our daughter in private school, obviously the entire ethnic, social, and racial makeup changed. There was a reason for doing it. We're homeschooling, but we also want access to certain resources that you cannot get in most places. We want her to feel comfortable in spaces she's going to have to operate in to be successful at the highest level. It's great to have businesses that service black patrons. I do that, but I can tell you, you're limiting your money if you can only grab what's out there in black spaces. Now, you patronize black businesses, but you should have clients and be able to meet diverse needs, because that expands your ability to produce revenue and care for yourself and your family and write out the pathway to your vision and your dream. So we are trying to expand her horizon, and she is very, very into who she is as a young black girl, and we don't want her to lose that. So we're constantly pouring into her. But what we had to instill in her is you can go into this space and be yourself. Don't go in here trying to change who you are. Don't go in here feeling insecure. You belong here, not because you're like them, but because you're as good as them. Did you hear what I said? You don't prove you belong somewhere by being like the people who are there. You prove that you belong there by being as good or better than they are. By being who you are naturally and inherently, but being the best version of yourself and bringing so much value to the table that it cannot be denied that you belong there. Everything that I've accomplished in my life has because I showed up on the stage and I decided within myself before I stepped on the stage, whether it was on the field, on the track, in the business room, in the boardroom, sitting in front of publishers or whatever it is, sitting in front of my academic contemporaries, it didn't matter. No matter where I was sitting, I told myself, you belong here. You belong here. You have put in the work. You belong here. You have a mission. You have a vision, just like anybody else. You belong here. And that's what I want you to. I want you to say that to yourself until you believe it. Literally reinforce that in your self-talk, reinforce that in your conversations with others. I belong here. Let me tell you something. When you make up in your mind that you're going to do something exceptional, extraordinary, or phenomenal, you don't need the permission of anybody. You're not here in this world to earn the approbation and approval of other people. You're here in this world to make such an impact that the world has to recognize your presence. You are here, in other words, to make your presence felt. You don't need permission to do that. If you show up and you know you belong, your presence will be felt. It isn't about being mean to anybody. It isn't about dominating anybody. It's about holding your own in your space, and while simultaneously expanding your territory, because you're expanding who you are as a person, and you're taking that space around you and you're using it to better other people. You belong here. That was the message my wife told her first. She beat me to it. You belong here. You go in with your hair the way your hair is. You belong here. You're not trying to be like them. You're trying to exceed and excel, not because you're in competition with them, but because you're just that good. You go in and you do you. You belong here. You would not have been accepted if you didn't belong here. Matter of fact, you had to be a little bit better to get accepted. But I want you to get used to this. This is why you're here, not because they are better and we want you to be around them. No, we want you to understand that when you walk into situations like this in life and you're the odd person out, that you can still stand, that you can still show up on their turf, on their stage, and shine. This is about you. It's not about them. Now, what you're going to do after you conquer this and you walk away with their diploma, you're going to leverage that diploma the same way they leverage it. I came from this academy. You're going to leverage it the same way they do. You're going to use the same system they do to raise yourself up. It's not about them. It's about you. And remember that when you're out there in this world, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about what you're willing to put into yourself. It's about how far you're willing to go. It's about how you'll be able to walk. So let me shine something else on this real quick. Sometimes you can be so caught up in the lack of progress or the lack of expediency or the lack of pace. It's not happening fast enough for you, and you can become discouraged and you become frustrated. Let me tell you how you got to do this. You got to stop for a minute and you got to go back to where you started. See, I know some people who are shining right now, but they are frustrated because they've gotten to the point where their own shine is coming for them. So they're frustrated because they're looking at the next level. And that's where they're supposed to be looking. They're supposed to be looking at the next level. But here's the problem. Sometimes you got to go back to when you were homeless. Sometimes you got to go back to when you had one pair of shoes and one pair of jeans for school and the kids laughed at you every day. Sometimes you got to go back to the point where your parents didn't know whether or not they were going to be able to keep the lights on. Sometimes you got to go back to the point when you were a D student in school. I don't care what your situation is. You got to go back to that point where nobody could have looked at you and saw you where you are today to remind yourself that you've traveled somewhere. that you move somewhere, that you come out of some things, that you become something that people thought you couldn't become. So now you can look at it and say, I may not be where I want to be, but I thank God I'm not where I used to be. And now I've got enough courage to stand up and move forward because I belong here. God built me for this moment. Stop waiting on people to co-sign you. It's a bunch of them looking out there, looking up to you, but won't co-sign you because it's not in their spirit. Don't wait on nobody to validate you. Everything you need is inside of you. Your potential is literally brimming over with capacity for greatness. I dare you to stand up, square your shoulders, and look at life and say, here I come. I'm built for this. Oh, man. When you finally learn how to remind yourself that you're built for the battle, when you finally learn how to remind yourself that absolutely nothing that you cross can shake the ground and the foundation on which you stand, which is faith and an understanding and confidence in your purpose, there's nothing that can stop you. Oh, you got to know you belong. You don't have to look like them to belong. You don't have to walk like them to belong. You don't have to wear what they're wearing to belong. You belong because your presence is necessary. This world needs you to be on your A game. This world needs you to rise up and live in the fullness of your purpose. It's time for you to live at the level of your design and stop cowering to the push of your current circumstances. I can't tell you how many times I got to places and the skin tone and the hue wasn't the right hue. But I told myself, you belong. I got there and I'm inked up. Say, man, they're going to say you're unprofessional, but I belong here because I'm built for this. He who has the gold makes the rules. And I've got the gold. They want what I got. So I belong here. They need me. Showed up in boardrooms, being me. My mentor told me 30 plus years ago, he says, you don't want to be compliant to the status quo. You don't like suits. I hardly ever see you without a cap on. You got earrings in your ear. You got tattoos on. And you want to show up in the business world and make a difference. And he's talking to me and he's saying, they're not going to want to accept you. And I'm starting to hear this speech coming in and I'm going, here you go. He's trying to tell me I got to change. Because that's what the world tells everybody. If you're not wearing this, you're not professional. If you're not wearing this, you're not classy. If you're not looking like this, you're not beautiful. If you're not looking like this, you're and over again, trying to get you to conform to what others have classified as whatever. And it's to pull you out of what you naturally are. But he came and he finished with the thing that has driven me ever since. He says there's only one way you can walk into the business world, in any other arena in the world, as you are, and still have an opening and still be welcome. And I said, well, he said, you got to get the gold. He who has the gold makes the rules. And I said, be more clear. I think I get it, but be more clear. He says, find out what people want, get it, and master it and deliver it in a way that nobody else can. They won't care what you're wearing. They won't care what color of skin you are. You've got what they need, and they'll pay you for it. They will invite you into their world, and they will accept you as you are. But you better have the gold. So I've spent my entire life getting the gold. And the gold is something different in every situation. You find out where you want to be at, and then you got to get the gold, because the gold makes the room. It's people who need to be told how to do this. It's people who need to be taught how to do that. It's people who need great negotiators. It's people who need great inventors and great creators and great spokespeople, great speech writers. There's some place for your gift where you can be so good at it that you can walk in as you and be accepted. You belong, and you don't have to change who you are to be there. All right, on that note, I'm gonna get ready to get off here. As I always say, I'm gonna live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I don't eat. That's my challenge to you. Now, don't forget about the sponsorship of the 25th Book Project, which is building Black generational wealth. And the information is in there. Click the link, go to the page, read more, watch the video, find out how you can sponsor the work, how you can be published in the book, along with your memorial to whoever it is you want to memorialize. On that note, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for sharing your time with me, and I hope to catch you again a little later, if not on tomorrow. You guys have a great day.